Awesome. Well, as I mentioned before, I'm part of the Arweave team that is helping, facilitate the Open Web Fellowship program. And prior to Arweave, I worked at Techstars, and that's how I actually also met the Arweave team. And my background really is in helping a bunch of companies get ready from the selection process all the way up to demo day so that they can pitch successfully and then hopefully get more users, more customers, and also potential investors. And today we're going to be talking about how to pitch like a pro. And so the first step in pitching like a pro is really knowing who you're going to be talking to. So who are you going to be talking to at demo day, which is ultimately the goal of this presentation? Well, you're going to be talking to potential investors. And what do investors really care about? They care about that, right? They care about money. So this is an investor pitch. This is very different than what you would normally think of in terms of a customer pitch. For example, a customer pitch might include details on how to use the product itself or how to onboard someone, right? An investor pitch is very, very different. We're going to be covering those differences today. So number one is what is the goal of that whole presentation that you're going to be having? And many people think, well, the goal really is to get an investor to right away take out the term sheet and sign the term sheet and give it to me. I only have one shot, it's 5 minutes, and it's all or nothing. And that's not really the way that it goes. The goal of that presentation is to get a meeting. That's basically it. It's pique enough interest so that people then care about knowing more about you and you can get into that second meeting. Cool. But how exactly does that work? Well, you need to impress the audience. Haha, very, very intuitive, right? But how exactly are you going to be doing that? And the way that you're going to be doing that is having a good structure and having the matching content for that structure for that audience. So the structure that we're talking about here for demo day specifically is you should have something of an intro. Around a minute is a good time to introduce your project or your solution or your idea. Then you really start going a little bit deeper into what exactly your solution, your project, your idea is, right? How does it work? How does it address any problems that you might have picked up or that you're trying to solve? And after that, which lasts around 4 minutes, you're going to go into what it's called the landing. And that really is to round things up so that you don't just present something and very abruptly end well, that was it, guys. Thank you very much. That you have something more substantial to say and that you bring home a couple of messages that you want, call to action and everything else. We'll cover these things as we go along. So let's talk about the introduction. First, you should really introduce yourself and your project. Maybe you notice that that's sort of what I did here, right? So I say my name, my affiliation to the project, and then also try to explain why people should care, why people should listen to you, right? So when I was doing my intro, I said, well, I was working at Techstars before, and I helped prepare a bunch of companies to successfully pitch at demo day. I could have added there, a little bit more experience, but in the interest of time, I didn't do it. You should definitely do it, right? So why should people listen to you? Why are you the person who is the right person to be working on this problem? What is your background? What is the thing that sets you apart from others? And what is your project about in one sentence? That is a really good, strong introduction. How? Well, why should you care? Why should people care about your experience? Well, either you tell a story, right? So for example, let's have this story. Medium, you know the blogging platform, Medium introduced a paywall, and that affected content creators because all of a sudden they didn't have as much reach, and they also couldn't really, they weren't really necessarily monetizing the content that they were putting out. Okay, why should you care, right? Either tell a story this is one of those stories, or make a comparison from Web 2.0, using that same example of Medium, or using that same example of something from Web 2.0. We're building a Dropbox for Arweave. And I know that we have Phil from Arweave here in the audience. This is something that he has used very successfully. And I think that really resonates with people seeing what he's working on today. If we go then into, this was an introduction. Now let's move on to the solution. So what is the goal here of the solution part? And the only goal here is getting people to understand what your solution is about. It's not about getting them to use it yet. It's really just understanding what it's addressing. How do you exactly do that? Well, the best way to do this is by presenting your solution, by showing it, right? So if you have some sort of demo, that's ideal. If you can't show because it's not built yet, or because, or whatever reason, then the next thing that you can do is try to explain your solution. But by showing your solution, preferably it's a demo. Preferably the demo is live. And if it's not live, then it's okay to pre-record. This is something that happens many places where you cannot really reliably have a demo running. And then it's okay to show a pre-recording of the demo just for the demo purposes. But it's always better if it's live and if you're actually interacting with it. One very, very important thing to remember here is when you're showing your demo or you're recording the demo, just show the key features. Don't get bogged down into all the different details. I see many times people very, very excited about all the work that has gone into different aspects of the product or solution that they're presenting, and they start then going to a lot of detail, and that detail is redundant, and it's not necessarily what the audience is interested in. So just show the key features. If you have a bunch of features, then it's great, but then just prioritize those features, create a hierarchy of features that you want to show. And then you can always talk about the remaining features that you did not discuss. You can talk about those in the subsequent meeting that you hopefully will have with the interested party. Any visuals will help you here. So for visuals, you can have something like roadmaps, right? Let's say that you have a little bit of a demo, but not super mature. That's fine. Then show as well, like what you're going to be building, right? Like what does the roadmap look like for the next 3 months or 6 months? If you don't have that, just also use wireframes, right? If that's not as advanced, just use what it might look like in the future. And that's already going to get you there. Focus on the key features as always. And super important, go to the point. Do not go into every single detail. This is not the meeting. This is not the presentation. The demo is not the presentation for you to go into every single meeting. It's much more important for you to explain how users will, A, find your solution, right? How are you going to gain users? And B, how are those users going to be using your solution or your project or product or whatever it is that you're building? How are they going to be interacting with it in a way that not only makes them happy and keeps them engaged, but also perhaps even recommend the project or the product to others? This is super, super important. This is something that you really be focused on. And now let's go to the landing. So the landing is really just about having something round to say towards the end. It shouldn't take too much time. It should be pretty much going to bring home certain points that you want to highlight from what you said before. And this will require some rehearsal. You can't just simply try to wing it. It's not going to work. So for example, I would say in this outro for my presentation, hi, I'm Sebastian. This was Pitch Like a Pro, and I'll be happy to answer your questions later and also double check for any typos like the one that I have there. That's always a very good tip. And also have a call to action towards the end. A very appropriate call to action to have during your demo day presentation would be something like, come talk to me to find out more about my project, right? It's a mistake that we've see every now and then in companies, and we've seen that with projects of Techstars, when people really really jump straight into, yeah, my call to action is, and please invest in my company or in my project. And that is just extremely tacky. That is not advisable at all. Rather, just try to have that second meeting and really try to talk to people, convince them about like why your project or your product or your solution is the best to address that specific problem. And out of that will come up a conversation about, okay, what is a potential investment? But don't ask for money up front. That's really not what you should be thinking about. Final thoughts, and this is probably, if there's two things that you should take out from this, take away from this presentation, should be: one, the goal is to get a next meeting, and the second is that clarity matters more than delivery. Okay, so that is the most important thing that people have to take away after having seen your presentation. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.